those who are raised in and around Pittsburgh know of its prominent place in America's industrial frontier. In the 20th century, factories were the most common structure, and Pittsburgh was densely packed, occupying a fraction of the space it takes today. Since then, the Steel City has extended its reach outwards. Farmland and suburban villages popped up all over western Pennsylvania. As time passed, these farmlands have shifted, and Pittsburgh's suburban areas have changed dramatically over the past 2 centuries. This expansion of the urban way of life has not only impacted people, but also all of the organisms that inhabit the Keystone State.
Pennsylvania is home to over 25,000 different species of wildlife and plant life. As of 2002, PA has been ranked 29th in species diversity and is one of the smallest states in the higher ranks. But what happens when we lose our forests and nature to urban sprawl? What happens to our biodiversity and why is it important to us? Well, biodiversity includes all the plants and animals that live in a specific area. Biodiversity greatly influences the stability of an ecosystem, such as playing large roles in air and water purification in urban environments. If the diversity of an ecosystem declines, the ecosystem becomes more vulnerable to environmental change.
Now, how does urban sprawl tie in with biodiversity? Pennsylvania is ranked in the top 10 states for land developed, while being in the bottom 8 for population growth rate. It's been reported that Pennsylvania has lost more than 4 million acres to urban sprawl since the 50s. These developments have been extending their reach past Pittsburgh's previous dense suburban areas into the vast rural region of western Pennsylvania. These rural areas of untouched nature and farmlands have been clear-cut to give way for the large residential communities that multi-million-dollar companies such as Ryan and Infinity Homes have bought up in and around the zones surrounding Pittsburgh. These extensive projects bring in millions of dollars for each plan, but at the cost of wildlife habitats, leading to a decrease in Pennsylvania's diversity.
It is clear to see that the transformation from rural land to urbanized areas is quite dramatic. Urban sprawl develops rural areas, making fewer natural habitats available for biodiversity. Most downtown urban areas have less than 20% of vegetation, the remaining areas being predominated by pavement. With the removal of the trees and vegetation, niches decrease, and birds as well as many other animals decrease in diversity because their diversity is proportional to vegetative diversity. Even if some animals can find a home out of the low habitat availability, they are more contact with urban areas. According to Pennsylvania Insurance Department, there is 1 to 70 chance for a deer and smaller wildlife to be killed by road-related disasters, and we have the second highest rate for these accidents. The increase of destroyed habitat has forced wildlife into commercial and residential areas. The reason behind this could be that the population of wildlife in residential areas and roadways has increased the likelihood of wildlife getting killed. Especially forest interior birds rely mostly on large tracts of contiguous forests, making them very vulnerable to the impacts of habitat loss and fragmentation. Habitat fragmentation divides large contiguous forests into smaller isolated patches of habitats, which affects wildlife in many ways. It leaves species with a smaller area to find everything they need to survive. Limited wildlife mobility leads to restricted gene flow, thus loss of genetic diversity. This decreases the long-term health of the population, resulting in a higher risk of extinction.
To help protect our biodiversity in western Pennsylvania, we must take action now. We can do this by contacting local officials and lawmakers, urging for more regulation on urban sprawl. We can push for developers to start designing their plans with more access for animals to move across patches. A great example of this are the wildlife corridors in Banff, Canada and Montana. These wildlife-friendly overhead bridges allow for animals to safely disperse over highways without the risk of death. While changes are being made in the regulation of urban sprawl, you can donate or volunteer at the Western Pennsylvania Conservancy. This organization, with over 25,000 members and volunteers, is striving to conserve Western Pennsylvania's biodiversity. Numerous milestones, such as the formation of the Moraine State Park, have positively impacted Pennsylvania, and the WPC also has made parks and green spaces in major cities. Regardless of which route you take, it is important that we maintain our biodiversity. Perhaps in the near future, developers will become more environmentally cognizant and all life can coexist peacefully.